Welcome to the Fancy A BREW podcast. I'm Andy the Northern Diver. In this series I'll be discussing adventure, conservation and progression in scuba diving with some really interesting and inspirational divers that you might or not have heard of. The podcast is supported by Northern Diver International and you the listener through Patreon. So grab yourself a brew and enjoy this week's episode. Right, so season 2, episode 2. Rosie Bancroft, welcome to Fancy A BREW podcast. Have you got a brew with you?
I have got a coffee.
Oh yeah, in a Starbucks mug as well.
I know.
I'll have to sort you out one of my mugs. You need one of these when you go away.
Yeah, I do. That would be great.
So give us a little bit of a spiel about you. Not too much though, because obviously I don't want to give everything away. Else we'll just have like a 5-minute chat and then it'll be done.
So I was a GB para swimmer for about 10 years actually. And I lived in Manchester, trained as a swimmer for a long time. Just missed out on making the Paralympics Rio 2016. And then I kind of was like, wow, I don't have any plans for this summer now. What am I going to do? It was actually really, really hard time. And I ended up just sort of packing a backpack, going traveling solo on my own for a few months. And then I found scuba diving, and that's pretty much changed the path of my life since then, to be honest.
Awesome.
So I'm now graduated with a degree in zoology, and I am just about to quit my job working at the university and travel to Indonesia to do my dive master and work on a conservation project over there.
Awesome. Well, what you probably don't know about this podcast is when I started it, it was to sort of emulate what Jason Fox does with his The Wild Tales podcast. Have you come across that?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
So he talks about like sort of mental and physical resilience, and I really warmed to the kind of conversations he was having and how he would bring out that in people's personalities. Obviously he spoke to people that had done some epic stuff compared to just, you know, the normal person. And I wanted to sort of follow along the lines of that because I thought scuba diving, certainly for me, gives a lot of mental release. You know, I don't perhaps need to go to counselling anymore. Not that I really went to it, but do you know what I mean? It's a good release for me. Yeah. I look forward to it all week. And regardless of the weather and the conditions, I can go diving wherever, whether it be the sea or the local pond or whatever. So for me, it's a good release from the trials and tribulations of the week. And certainly, after having tons of knee surgery, I can't run anymore. I can't do a lot of training like I used to do. So it's a way of putting loads of weight on my back and feeling like I've done a bit of hard work and a reason to stay fit. So what I'm trying to get at is I've struggled to get lots of guests on that want to open up about that or really have an issue that we can discuss and be open about. So obviously you said in your intro that you were in Team GB, the para swimming. So why are you in that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I should have mentioned actually. So I've missing my leg since birth. So my right leg below the knee. I've always worn a prosthetic. I have actually had a lot of issues with it because when you have an amputation, so I was born with a small foot and they had to amputate that to allow me to wear a prosthetic. When they amputate at a young age and you keep growing, what happens is that the bone grows into a point. So I basically had to have the end continually amputated every couple of years as a kid. So it's really difficult and I'm still having issues with it to do with my knee. So when you said knee surgery, I was suddenly very sympathetic for you because I actually just dislocated my knee like 4 months ago. So
I know
I'm
your pain.
still yeah, absolutely the worst ever. But yeah, no, so I've always struggled with it in terms of having to have surgeries or it dislocates sometimes, but it hasn't really affected my life that much, I don't think. I feel like I don't look back and think that it stopped me doing anything that I wanted to do. So, but yeah, it's a pain sometimes when it dislocates.
Yeah. I tell you what, obviously I follow you on Instagram and I've seen quite a few of your pictures and you genuinely wouldn't know. It was only the fact that your name on Instagram gives it away.
Yeah.
But unless you actually look, whether you're trying on purpose to make the photographs look that way, I don't know. But
yeah, no,
it's so well done, your photographs, and I guess your prosthetic leg is so well made. It doesn't stand out that you've got an issue, and then if you look through your photographs and you see what your lifestyle's about, you're definitely not hindered by it at all, are you?
No,
So
no.
I'm probably more hindered by my rubbish knee than you are without having, you know, a full leg.
I think it's just to be fair, it's being able to like adapt for me. So just finding a way of,
Yeah.
there's always a way to do something, whether it's even if it's a bit different than what other people do. I feel like there's always a way. But yeah, no, I don't actually intend to make my photos not show it. I feel like I should show it more because I'm very proud of it. All my friends will tell you that. I milk it for all it's worth, that's for sure. But yeah, I love it about me. I wouldn't change it at all. But yeah, I just feel like I also don't focus on that, as obviously my Instagram handles now that, but I don't tend to focus on that as something that defines me. So it's never like the focus of my pictures. But if you look closely, you can see I do have one leg. But yeah, it's not obvious. But yeah, it's quite funny whenever I'm traveling places. When I wear my blade, obviously it's very obvious. But if I'm wearing I've got two legs. There's like the daytime leg, which is my blade, and then my nighttime leg for my dresses and going out and stuff, which you can wear heels with and stuff. And with them wearing that leg, honestly, people don't believe me when I tell them because it looks like I've just got a knee brace on.
Yeah, it does.
So yeah, I've had some funny, especially in Asia, people just assume that I've been in a motorbike accident because I'm a British tourist. Well, not quite actually.
So am I right? Am I right? I did a bit of research, like I do on everyone that's coming on that I don't know very well, and certainly perhaps if they're not as well known, it's a lot harder to find out. So doing a bit of googling on you, is it right that one of your legs got robbed?
It did. That went all over the news. That was weird. My house got burgled and they stole my car keys. And they took my car, and I'd had my blade in the car because I was going between uni and gym and between training, and then so I swapped legs from what I'm doing, and so my leg was in the boot. But the thing that was mad about when they stole that car was that I have my pedals the wrong way around because that's how because I've not got used my right foot, so they had to drive away with my car with the pedals the wrong way around. Which actually, I'm like, fair play, you've been able to steal it like that, fair enough. Have the car. Just a bit viral actually, because I was like, oh, they kept reporting on it saying, oh, this Paralympic hopeful's leg's been stolen, but I was sort of more hoping they'd say, well, my car's been stolen, because that's what I really wanted to get back. But yeah, it did get stolen, that's true.
Did you get it back?
No, never heard anything about that again. Just disappeared.
I mean, you could understand if they took it to like cash converters and tried to get some money for it, but I bet it's just got slung in the canal or something on it, which is such a waste.
Oh, I know. It's literally, there was so much in that car. My car is like a skip on wheels, so it's so messy. So it had so many things in there, like my handbag, they came in and they stole like my purse, my passport, everything. It was really bad, but yeah, the leg was definitely the focus of media attention.
Devastating. So was it sort of pretty heartbreaking when you didn't make the Olympics?
Yeah, that was well, it had been like 4 years I'd been training with the team. So there's like a GB training centre in Manchester, and I moved to Manchester for that. So I trained 4 years there, and then 4 years before with the hopes of making this games, because it's such a long process to make it. But the thing is, it's just with any sport, it's just so cutthroat. You have to do it on one day at exact time. And even if I'd done it before, it doesn't make any difference. It's just what you do on that day. And I was so nervous. I think it was one of those, like, it just probably meant too much to me, because it really got into my head on the day of the race, and I just messed it up. I was a distance swimmer, so I would do long distance, and I went out like an absolute rocket and
Did
died.
You? Burned out straight away.
Yeah, I went for it as if it was a sprint, so it was just not good. And then it was very like quite hard when you've put that much into something. It's like losing your identity. I thought that was who I was. I was going to be in the Paralympics. That was my identity, and then I've just lost it. And all my friends, all my teammates had made it, so it was kind of like felt quite alone. But I've always loved traveling, even since I was like really young. I did my first solo trip when I was 17. So I think I just I was sort of, this is the other thing I love. I'm just going to use this time to just go off and see the world, which is something you can't do as a swimmer. So so yeah, it ended up really good. I actually wouldn't change it now because of that. What I experienced in those few months when I went away was just insane.
Well, it is one feeling because, like I said, all my mates take the piss because I harp on about how bad my knee is, and it really is. Honestly, some days I can hardly walk, and I've had surgery that's offset my foot now slightly, just so the the complications within the knee are offset onto where there is some cartilage left. But that's given me like an offset on my opposite hip, so I can't run. I certainly struggle walking. We used to do a lot of hill walking, so I can't do a lot of that anymore. So the only thing I find I can do is either cycle or swim. Even going to the gym
Yeah,
now, it takes an awful lot for me to not get injured. So I've got to take it really gently, and that's not me. I'm still, I might be
yeah,
40 years old, but I'm still 15 in my head. You know, I still want to go
yeah,
like you, that sprint when you should actually be just
yeah.
going for quite a while. So how do you manage to keep fit when you might have sort of
So
similar issues to me, I should imagine?
yeah, I mean, normally when I'm not suffering from I'm recovering from this knee injury at the moment, and that's really knocked me off my feet.
Yeah.
But before that, I'm actually very, it doesn't like affect me much in terms of exercising. I don't run. I can't run and I can't walk for too long. But I'm in the gym probably like 4 or 5 times a week. That's, I absolutely love the gym. That's my
Yeah.
like happy place. And I swim. I just feel like swimming is just for everyone. Like no matter what your injury is, or everyone can swim. And I just, yeah, that's definitely a release for me. I've always been able to swim no matter what injury. That's what I'm struggling with now in tier 4 because I can't swim. Um, but yeah, no, so I'm in the gym a lot. But I do feel like that's with diving, it's like with swimming for me. Like when I was a kid and I first learned to swim, that was a time where I was in and out of surgery a lot. I was having a lot of pain, a lot of problems. And so I often couldn't do most of the stuff at school that other people were doing, all the other kids, other sports. But then when I got into swimming, it was like I was completely free. I didn't have this like hindering prosthetic leg attached to me. I was just like completely, yeah, free in the water, and I was able to sort of be just as good, if not better, than the people around me. Which was probably like the first time I experienced that, was like, oh, because in other things I kind of felt like I was a little bit slower or I was a bit behind the other kids. And then when I started swimming, it didn't feel like that. So I think I still get that feeling when I go diving. It's just like completely
Yeah.
free. You don't have that because it's like I'm totally used to it now, and I don't think it's a problem. But having a prosthetic leg isn't the most comfortable thing. So when you're under the water, it's just, yeah, it's very nice.
Magic. Do you do any sort of open waters, like wild swimming?
I've tried it. They used to make us do this as training for GB, but I'm not the biggest fan. I prefer to be like, because with open water swimming, it can be quite rough.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I quite like swimming as that gives me peace. And I feel like open water swimming doesn't give me that feeling.
All
I would
right.
do it if it wasn't too cold as well. I'm not a big cold fan.
Same.
That's when I
I
saw your
struggle.
vlog. I thought that looks cold.
To be fair, now I've got some better kit that's more geared up to keeping me warm. It's absolutely fantastic. You know, I spent an hour in the other day, and that was absolutely fine. And the only reason I came back, I was diving on my own, and it's a bit boring, to be fair.
Fair.
You know, because not that you're like just gawping at the person you're with, going, "What a fantastic time we're having." But I don't know. It's just somebody might, you know, 4 eyes are better than two, I suppose. So if me and you were diving together, you might see something I hadn't. So
Yeah, no,
we go
true.
and have a nosy at that, or you might want to try and do something, I guess. So it's fun. Certainly when you take your camera in to dive on your own, I like that. But
Yeah.
because I'm just trying to get used to this new kit configuration, it's after an hour's enough. You know, it's boring.
Yeah.
And not the warmest around your face, I suppose. But no,
Yeah.
that's good. I mean, I want to get more into swimming. Swimming is not something I've done a lot of. I've always been around water since being a kid. We used to have like an international pool in Wigan. We like high diving boards, and that was my thing. You know,
Mm.
the sort of adrenaline rush there. But whilst I can swim, it was never let's get into it. But where we go diving locally, there seems to be a lot more people going to those quarries and doing laps. But it's a bit cold, isn't it?
It's
So
just a bit cold for me. Yeah, that's why I'm heading off to Indonesia. I like the
well,
warm waters.
Well, we'll have to see. So you studied zoology then? Is that
I
after
did.
you'd learnt to dive?
No, well, it took 6 years for me to graduate because I was doing it part-time alongside my swimming career.
All right.
So it was just, yeah, because the swimming was a full-time job, so I was having to go part-time at uni. And yeah, it was 6 years, but then it was probably like 4 years into that degree that I learned to
Yeah.
dive. So it
Right.
was, yeah, it wasn't because of, but I've always had something about wildlife. I knew that was what I wanted to do as a job. But then I think diving sort of made me realize that I can combine that with something else that I love in
Yeah.
terms of my career going forward.
What is zoology in comparison to something like, I don't know, marine biology or whatever kind of biology?
Well, it's basically, I mean, my degree was very much basically biology. It was only in my final 2 years, which I really sort of honed in on animal related things. But it was quite broad. Like zoology is good because it is broad. So marine biology would just be a kind of a branch off of zoology, but it's kind of like a more general um, animal related biology course. But it was really interesting. I did a lot of different things. My main thing that I did in my final year was to do with conservation, and I did quite a lot of animal physiology as well, and like climate change modules, which I found really interesting. So that was where
Right.
I really. But before then, I was doing the same modules as my biochem housemates. We were doing the
Really?
same thing. Right? Yeah, it was quite a broad course, but I like that.
Mm-hmm. What was your dissertation on?
Oh god, because everyone laughs at me when I tell them about it. So I
That's what
did
I'm
my
asking.
I did it on magpies. So I studied the it was they laugh at me because I spent months in parks watching magpies, and they thought I was like the crazy bird lady, all my friends said. But I did so it was like studying the effects of urbanization on magpies' behavior. So if they were in a really built up city area, how they would differ their behavior compared to if they were in the Peak District, for example, is when I did my study in.
All right. Did you prove anything? Did you answer a
I, I
question?
I nearly got, yeah, I did. I nearly got, well, me and my supervisor nearly put it forward for publishing, but my stats wasn't good enough. My stats was very bad, but apart from that, he said it was really good. But yeah, I
Excellent.
don't think I'm a bit done with magpies now, to be fair.
So getting on to diving, which is obviously what we're here really to chat about, is so SSI. I've heard of them, but
Mhm.
in the UK, I suggest it's probably BSAC and PADI are probably up there, aren't they, as the sort of bigger associations for sort of recreational diving. But I have heard of SSI. But what made you go with SSI? Is that just what was local to you, or?
So I learnt in Thailand, and that was who that dive school used, and dive school that I was at is just absolutely amazing. I've been back there now twice because I just love
Right.
diving with them. But yeah, they just used SSI, so I just went with what they used. But since then, I've actually spoken to a lot of people about the difference, and I think with PADI and SSI, like it's quite interchangeable. Like I'll be doing a PADI dive master, but I've got an SSI advanced. But
Yeah.
they say that with SSI, like the technology is a bit more advanced, so
Right.
like the app's really good. And this is just from people who I've dived with. Like so the guy I dived with
Yeah.
in Mallorca a few months ago. He said he uses SSI now because it's a bit like the way that you teach is a bit more flexible as an instructor. But yeah, I don't think it wasn't really like a specific choice. It was more just because that was the dive school used
All right.
SSI.
I kind of hoped it was that you'd done it abroad because I thought, why? If she's been
Yeah,
hanging around
no.
in Manchester for the last few years, have I not come across? Because I'm only up the road from Manchester. I'm in Wigan, Anna, so
Oh yeah, of
it's
course.
only around the corner. But so you're what you are, advanced open water now. So you're going for your dive master. What's your end goal with dive master? Is that something you want to work as then?
Maybe, but I think it's more the dive master is alongside I'm doing like some research diving qualification. So at the end of these like 4 months, I'll have a qualification in shark and ray identification, coral restoration, um, turtle turtle identification. There's like 5 different qualifications that are to do with
Right.
conservation. I think I'd like to almost use my dive master. I think dive master is just something that I've always had that I just really want to get. It's something that for
Yeah.
me has just been something that I want to be able to say that I've done. and I know it's going to be a big challenge for me. Like I'm aware, but I'm really excited for the challenge. But it's more the conservation side of it that I see myself going down that path. So using those
Right.
qualifications, hopefully, it's absolutely terrifying going into these next few months, not knowing. Basically, I'm gonna have to find a job at the end of it, and it's just very
Yeah.
scary, not
Well,
knowing if I'll have one.
what I've got planned for the end of January, the last 2 weeks of January, is the HSE professional scuba recreation. No, let me see, scientific research and media course. It's 2 weeks. It's like 2 5-day, back to back weeks. It's down in Bristol. There's loads of them around the UK, but they seem to open up quite a few doors for you to get into that research, media, or scientific paid work. Now, it's a tick
Okay.
box you have to have, certainly for working in the UK, for any particular agency, whether it be like the BBC or National Geographic or any of them. But it seems quite intensive. They're teaching you how to work a recompression facility, how to be in front of camera, behind camera, lighting, full face masks, all the real sort of nitty gritty stuff. So it's not so much a knowledge base where you would like learn to identify a particular species or anything like that. It's more so the health and safety aspect of doing that kind of employment. So that might be something you want to look into,
That's really
later
cool. Yeah, I might
later
ask you
on.
to send me that after this. Send
Yeah,
me
we'll
that
do.
info.
Well, I asked around, much like the rebreather I just bought. I knew I wanted that particular one, but I didn't know why. You kind of sometimes see something and go, I like
Yeah.
that, but is there a better one, or is there a worse one? Am I getting the right one? So I asked around, and a few people came back with answers, and I followed them up, and I found the right instructor for me for the rebreather. So I bought that, did it, and I was really happy with what I got from him. And then equally, I asked the same question about doing this HSE Pro Scuba. So there's a couple of companies that do it over 4 weeks, but that's if you haven't got certain other prerequisite qualifications. So fortunately, I had. So the 2 week one is more than ample for getting me through to the sort of next phase in my career path, if that's what happens. So
That's
I'll send you
good.
some details over. So one of the other guys I interviewed a few months ago, a guy called James Glancy. Now he's an ex-Royal Marine. He did Special Forces training. We sort of crossed paths when we were both in Afghanistan in 2008. And he's massively into his sharks and working behind and in front of the camera. He does Discovery, Shark Week, things like that. But one of his other sidelines, he runs a charity out in Africa called Veterans for Wildlife. So people such as myself that have served time in the army or the armed forces go out and help the anti-poaching squads, if you will, to
Okay.
live off the land and help protect wildlife, which obviously rings home to loads of different things that I've seen that you do, or you've got some liaisons going with Legs for Africa, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's been recently, actually, the last few months. I've joined forces with this charity. So they basically donate legs from the UK. So I had a spare leg from one that I don't wear anymore. Sounds
Yeah.
weird, I know. So I'm so used to me saying like that, but I feel like it does sound weird. And I posted it out to them. But they basically collect it from people like me who don't need them anymore, and they send them out to people in Africa. And I actually one of the things I did when I did that trip after I didn't make Rio was to volunteer in Africa. I was in Tanzania with a centre for disabled kids.
Wow.
So saw a lot of sort of how much that was needed out there. So as soon as I heard about this, it was through another amputee athlete that I know. She put me in touch with them. I was sort of like, oh, this is just amazing. It's just the best. It's just so neat, and they're such a lovely charity as well. Like they just really go above and beyond. So yeah, really, really pleased to be working with them.
That's good, isn't it? It's just a shame that you've got a leg that's at the bottom of a canal that could have been somewhere.
I know that was that was a really good one as well.
What a shame.
I know, it's really annoying. It was a really good one as well. That one it was a
Was
blade.
it?
It would have been great to send to them, but yeah.
Wow.
But hopefully over the years I'll be able to give them more stuff as well. So that's be
Yeah.
good.
It's good, isn't it, to help people that's sort of massively less fortunate. I was talking about it the other day. Just we are so fortunate to be born in the sort of Western world, because there's so many other places around the world that just it's horrific to even think about it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm always harping on about, how I'm living my life without any limits and
Yeah.
doesn't affect me, and I don't mind having one leg, but I'm very aware that is because I live somewhere that has been able to give me prosthetics and physios and doctors, and so I feel like it going to Tanzania, it really hit home. I was like, I remember seeing a woman actually, and she didn't have any legs, and she was crawling to the supermarket because she didn't have any prosthetics. It was just it was one of those moments where it was like, I don't know, it just really hit home how privileged I was to be born where I was.
What's the reason for that? Is there quite a bit of civil war there? Is that what are they more injuries,
I
or
didn't
is it?
see like, I think it's more just like, I mean, it was just a birth defect, so if that
Yeah,
happens there, I just think they just don't have any access to it. So it could be
I
anything, I
suppose.
guess.
Yeah,
Don't know.
it just seems like
But
a
yeah.
bit of a focused area, doesn't it? If I mean, from what you're saying, it means like to me thinking, well, why is there so many people in that particular region? Unless there is or has been some sort of civil unrest or whatever
Yeah, it's true. Like
that's
there's
causing
definitely
that.
been other places I've been where I've seen a lot of people missing limbs, and it's been because of things like that. There's been a
Yeah.
war there recently. But yeah, it's definitely hit home anyway, going there
Mm.
and realizing how lucky I was.
So, what kind of diving do you like doing?
Oh, I've already told you this, but I absolutely love anything big. So diving with big marine life is my dream. Specifically sharks. But
Yeah.
I love night dives. That's probably my favorite. Um, I just love being under the water. To be honest with you, I just really
See,
love diving.
I'm the same. Night dives to me are not scary. I
No,
don't feel enclosed, and I don't feel nervous that something's going to sneak up and
no. I feel like I
bite me
should
in
think
half.
that.
Yeah, but then I've been diving up in the Lake District this summer, and sort of Lake Windermere and places like that. As you sort of descend below sort of 5 or 6 meters, it becomes pitch black.
Mm,
But it's like an all-consuming pitch black. It's
okay.
so weird and very eerie. I wouldn't say I'm frightened, but I'm kind of, the
Yeah.
hairs on the back of your neck are slightly up. No, it's not because it's cold. It's just it's kind
Yeah.
of weird. Whereas I've dived
Okay.
lakes in the UK that during the night, only like local quarries and stuff, so you know nothing's going to sneak up on you. But that doesn't seem to bother me. Whereas the ocean, where it perhaps should make you nervous, doesn't at
Yeah.
all. Ain't it weird?
No, not. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know, when you explain it to people, like, yeah, it's pitch black. You can only see what you see with your torch. They say, "Oh, that sounds terrifying," but I just feel like it's so peaceful. It's the
Yeah.
opposite of terrifying. But yeah, I do love a night dive.
We did one in the Red Sea 2019 it was,
Oh
and
wow.
the boat had enough ambient light coming off it into the sea that you didn't need a torch. So
Oh wow.
it was almost moonlight. Honestly, it was.
Yeah.
I'd go as far as to say it was romantic. it was it was beautiful.
I was just gonna say there's a night dive in Hawaii that I want to do where there's a massive group of mantas that live there, and if you shine your torches, you go deep and you shine your torches above you.
Yeah,
It's something like the plankton will go to where the light is, and then the mantas will come to where the plankton is,
really.
and so you have like a night dive with like absolutely tons of mantas above you. That's one of my
Yeah.
dream dives.
So where's your actual go-to now? Like, if you had a bucket list of dive
I've
sites,
made it.
because
I've
have
written
you?
it down. Yeah.
I used to take the piss of people having bucket lists because the first time I'd heard of one was like your obvious, people end of life. That's what I thought bucket lists were for. I need to tick
Mm.
these off because I've only got a couple of months left. And then everyone started having bucket lists, and I'm like, hang on a minute. But just can it not just be your plan for life? But I actually get it, because we are here for quite a short time, aren't we? So you do need to get that list underway and crack on with it. Otherwise, you'll just be a spectator. So where have you?
To be
What's on
fair,
your list?
well, yeah, I've only got a bucket list for diving. I don't have like a general life one, to be fair. But my dive one, I've got the Galapagos. I'd love to do Silfra in Iceland, where you can dive between the two
Yeah.
continental plates. Um, Hawaii, the night dive in Hawaii, that's up there. Red Sea, love to do that. And I'm hoping to go on a trip to Komodo after I do Nusa Penida, which is my dive master.
Yeah.
Where my dive master is, because I've heard Komodo is just amazing diving. So that's just some of mine, but it was quite long. I'm trying to think what's on it now.
See, I'm frightened. That's it. Frightened, loosely turned. I'm supposed to be a big hairy ass Wigan of me, and I'm not at all. Silfra for me, well, you see them in there, and it's crystal clear, and they're like, "Oh look, I'm in between
Yeah.
two continental shelves and that." What happens if there's an earthquake and they just go squash you up?
I feel
Because
like
it
that
could
would be
happen.
unlucky.
It could happen though, couldn't it?
Yeah, but I feel like you're more likely to, I don't know, hit your head jumping off the boat than you are.
Probably are, yeah. But Iceland's a mega country, innit? There's so much to see
Mm,
there, and if you're
yeah,
lucky enough, you get a clear night, you might actually see them northern lights. That'd be quite cool.
exactly. That'd be the dream, wouldn't it? But yeah, that's
Absolutely.
definitely up on the list.
So, who are you going travelling with now then? As in, when you're going over to there?
Just on my own. I actually, so it was a few months ago in lockdown. I managed to get, not in lockdown, but it's been since the Corona
Yeah.
pandemic started. I managed to get out to Mallorca because the girl I live with, her family live out there.
Right.
So we were out in Mallorca, and that's when I did some dives. And I remember, I don't know about you, but lockdowns really like made me think about what I actually want to do. And I was out and doing this dive, and I was like, this is just the best thing ever. I've not been able to do this for months, and now I've realized how much I love it. And I spoke to the guy I was diving with, and he said, you should really think about. I took two of my best friends diving with me, and they'd never dived before. And when we went down, I was sort of like leading one of them, and he was leading the other. And he said to me afterwards, like, oh, I really think you should think about doing a dive master or going into this as a career, because they're just the way that you are under the water. It's like you're just so comfortable. And I said, oh, I don't know. And I'm not normally like this, but I was just, my confidence about being a dive master with my leg did hit me a little bit. And I said, I can't carry the equipment that well or things like that. And he was like, oh, that really just in comparison to what it's like being under the water, that just doesn't matter. Yeah. And so then I was like, right, I'm going to do it. So I text around everyone I know who I've ever dived with. And I said, I really want to do my dive master somewhere where I can work on a conservation project. And so I do know the guy that I'm going out with. So he's someone I dived with already in Nusa Penida. He was like, oh, I've just partnered with this woman who runs a conservation project, and she's a researcher, and she's looking for interns, so you can apply. So I do kind of know people, but I am going alone. But that's basically how I've managed to get that.
Right, so I'm going to give you the details of where you can get on with your HSE Pro Scuba. I need the details of this dive master come thingy course. The only problem is the two clash. I'm there at the end of January, so are you. But that.
Oh, you can go out any time. To be fair.
I'll be honest. I've no dream or interest in being a dive master or that kind of stuff. I much prefer being on the back end of a camera and watching other people do stuff and documenting that. That's where my passions lie. That's not taken away from anybody else's dream of being a dive master. I've kind of been there a little bit and done that with the training agency I came through. But the actual conservation internship, that's perhaps where my interests and passions also lie. Hence this great white shark thing in South Africa that I was talking to you about before. So episode 49, there's a mate of mine through Northern Underwater Photography Group that's based in Manchester. He went out and did this sort of, it's not an internship, it's a research project. You can go from anything from 1 week up to about 6 or 7 weeks or something. And you apply online, and if you get accepted, you pay a certain fee, but everything then's catered for: your food, your accommodation, all your training, your boat trips, dives, cave dives, snorkels, everything you could possibly imagine. And when he was there a few years ago, they had these orca attacks. So these killer whales, a pod of them, were coming in and actually battling with the great white sharks and killed a couple of them. So he was like, he managed, I mean, it's a bit gruesome, innit? But he managed to get on a couple of great white shark autopsies, which, for someone in the scientific field must be, once in a lifetime. But he got 2 of them, and it was phenomenal, he said. Sad, but phenomenal. So I then applied over the weekend just gone and got the email this morning. Yeah, you've been accepted to come on the 1st of September. So like I said, as long as this coronavirus is packed in, it's given up, and then we can go. So I'm quite looking forward to that. But
so that's South Africa, is it?
Yeah. It's just outside of Cape Town. So it's quite a flight. It's the most southerly bit I've ever been to. I've never been further south than sort of Thelwall Viaduct. So I'll be getting dizzy if I go down there, won't I? You can see all my little pink stickers on my map up there. That's as far as I've been.
Do you know what? I've got the same map as you.
Have you? I bet you've got more little pink things over this way though, haven't you? Rather than
I've got it's because it's flipped on map from what I can see on your camera. But I've stuck little pictures of the places from when I've been, yeah.
I need
But I'm
to do
sure
that.
it's the exact same one, you know. I've really, I was staring at it before, like, that looks like one in my room.
I need to take this one off because we didn't go. The
Oh,
one at Mexico. I
yeah,
could pull that off now.
yeah.
We never went. But hopefully I get to fill it up. But I kind of think if I want to break more into this industry professionally,
Mm,
I'm going around about it the right way, doing the HSE Pro Scuba. But I need to form a sort of base of knowledge that clearly I didn't go to university and study marine biology or zoology or anything like that. You know, I'm a tradesman, if anything at all. So I need to build a portfolio of work up and some kind of knowledge that you can't perhaps get from books. And I certainly learn in a more
yeah,
practical fashion. So things like what you're doing now, if I can speak to you when you've done that and see what experience you
yeah,
gained from it, is it
100%.
positive? Is it relevant? You know, that'd be something I'd definitely look at getting into because I don't know of another way. And until I speak to people and ask around, you just don't know, do you?
Yeah, I've already started, like, sent me loads of study materials for before I leave because
Yeah,
they basically want everyone who's an intern to be at the level ASAP to be able to collect data for their
yeah,
projects, their surveys, and so you need to pass all these tests. But doing the study materials, it's just so cool. It's honestly just like I'm learning about this stuff, and I'm like, this is 100% what I want to be doing. It's just
yeah,
like learning about like how to identify different species of sharks, different species of rays, kind of like the conservation threats of each individual species, like how they reproduce. It's just so cool. And then to be able to go down and then actually see those in person and all these species that I've just been learning about for months is just like, so yeah, I'll definitely think it would be a good. And I don't know, I think there's a lot of ones like this that you can do where they need help, they need divers to help collect their data for their research projects, which is a great experience in itself. But I don't know if it's necessarily anything that you would always need to have a qualification in, because they do, as I say, like they train you in it before you go.
yeah.
So yeah, I'll let you know how it goes anyway. If
Ace.
I get out there this bloody corona.
I know. I tell you, I'm proper looking forward to the time where I do one of these podcasts. We don't have to mention it. It's just not relevant.
Oh, I
Can you
bet.
imagine? I mean, I'm almost holding my fingers. Not so much that this vaccine works, that it just dies out like some things do. You know, we've
Mm.
had swine flu and all sorts of different flus over the years, and we never had half the trouble we've got now. And hopefully, you know, because they died out, maybe this will just mutate
I
itself
hope
into
so.
oblivion.
I just, even not even just with the podcast, but just a day to go past where it's not brought up. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
like constant. But I feel like it will, at least get better. It's just that's why I feel like diving is the one thing that's just going to be something that I can do throughout this, even if it doesn't get better. So
Yeah. Well, I've certainly decided that the UK as a base, or I've certainly learned it, not so much decided it, but there's so much in the UK to do as a diver. If you've got all your own kit and you can keep warm, or you know you've got the right environmental protection, so pretty expensive dry suits, aren't they? But if you've got a good enough one
mm,
and you can use it, there's so much in the UK to see and do. You know, the sharks all over the coast if you wanted to go and see them. They're not necessarily great big, you know, 9-footers and beyond, but if you go down to the southwest, you'll see the blue sharks. If you stay around the northwest, sort of western tip of Wales, for me, there's tons of little cat sharks and smooth hounds and
oh
stuff. You
yeah,
know, they're this big and they're so keen on you getting close to them. You know, I've made so many videos this
yeah,
summer with them on just around Anglesey, and that's brilliant. So, you know, you don't have to
yeah.
always go further afield.
Yeah, that's true. Because I love traveling and going new places, and especially diving around the world. But I always see myself like, this is my home, this is my base.
Yeah.
So I'd always imagine myself coming back here. So yeah, I'm definitely excited. I've got a lot of exploring around the UK to do with my diving.
Have you done much diving here?
No, I've never dived here. I've only ever dived abroad. I'm
so you
always
look.
just
So you're looking for a dry suit sponsor now, then?
yeah, right. I suppose this is what I mean. I'm not good with the cold, so I just go
I
really
know.
hot places and dive. But you're right. I actually feel like I've also seen so much recently. A lot of divers who I follow on Instagram and social media, and they've been stuck in the UK because obviously they can't travel, and they've really started diving around and sort of documenting and showing how amazing the diving is here. It's really made
Mm.
me like turn an eye, to be fair, because you do think like, oh, I'll go see the big sharks in the Bahamas or whatever, but actually they've got great sharks off the coast of
Yeah.
the UK
I mean,
to explore it.
for the cost of one probably decent trip away. So let's say this trip for me is
Yeah.
going to cost cost about $2,000, and roughly that to go to Mexico for the same amount of time. You know, the trip I was going to go on versus the trip I've just booked. So $2,500. For that kind of money, you can get a very good dry suit and a full scuba setup that'll last you then for probably 5 or 6 years without me needing many repairs and any kit configuration. So, you know, forego one holiday and you can dive all year in the UK and you know, for very little money after that. So it's kind of worth it if you can afford it. It's just having that couple of grand spur in it to go and do.
To be fair, I tried so hard. Like I was absolutely relentless trying to get jobs when I first graduated in the UK to be honest, it was anything to do with conservation, especially marine conservation, and I just couldn't get through anything. I think it's just so competitive, and I feel like I needed this like hands-on experience somewhere to get these jobs that I wanted, which is why I thought this would be a good, at least it's a foot in the door. I've got some experience on a project. But everywhere it was just like, everywhere asked for experience, but then it's like, well, how do I get it? You know, it's one of them. How do you get that initial experience? It was hard.
Well, for me, I've only been diving for 4 years. I've done.
Oh, really?
About 3
for like years.
It's just I'm good at chat. I can chat shit all day long about diving. But I've been lucky. I've either had some very good friends that are really, really good instructors, or I've sought out the best instructors for the particular discipline that I wanted to go down. And every year I've kind of gone down one big change in either my configuration or the type of diving I'm doing. So from single to twin set to side mount to rebreather. And by seeking out the best instruction, I'm obviously paying for that. You're opening yourself up to things just outside of the remit that they're teaching, you know, little things that they could teach you, little idiosyncrasies or perhaps little techniques that you wouldn't have picked up reading a textbook and stuff like that. And I've been quite fortunate to have made some good contacts and networking and chatting all day long, you know. So it's certainly helped me pick that up. But I think in doing that, I've also been quite proactive. Like you said, you know, you were relentless in trying to find a job, but the experience was not there. You've got the qualifications, but then... So I was like, there's loads of scuba diving magazines, whether they be hard or electronic, that are crying out for people to write little articles on. And they'll even send you a guide of how they want it written, how many words, little segments within it of who's in it, what photographs they want. And, it, you know, an underwater camera doesn't have to be £10,000. You know, you can buy one for a couple of £100 that'll go to 20 odd meters. And it's no lenses and it's all shot on automatic. But it's just about getting the sort of the setup of it right and getting in focus what you're trying to take a picture of and making a story quite interesting. And that I've found I've had 3 or 4 articles now published in quite decent magazines, you know, that's something you can add to that CV. I've done this and I've been there, and you know, you've got to sell yourself in that respect. So make your own experience, which is kind of what you're doing now, isn't it? You're going out there to learn and see and fill that CV up.
Yeah, 100%. It's just, I think it is hard as a graduate when you're in that competitive field, but it's definitely, as you say, it's like being inventive and finding ways of putting things on your CV that are going to be experience that maybe set you apart. But I always sort of felt like, I had a good CV, and I've worked a lot of jobs, I had my swimming, had a really good degree. I'd done lots of things outside of uni, do you know what I mean? But it just wasn't specific enough. Conservation research, if you don't have that, it was just like impossible. Felt like I could never even got through to interview stages. It's so depressing.
Devastating. So what you're going to do to document where you're going now, so you can show people?
So I've not got any fancy camera, but I've got the GoPro 9. So I'll be
devastated. I got the 8 this year, and then they brought the 9 out. I was like, flipping heck.
They'll be having a 10 out in like 2 months, and then that'll be me. But we've got the GoPro 9, which I'm buzzing about. And I've started a blog, so I'm just about to launch it in the next couple of weeks. It's been really actually fun for me. Like, I love kind of sharing my posts on social media and stuff like that, which is why I thought, while I'm doing something like this and I'm going to be in Indonesia under the water every day, I might as well start documenting it and talking about it. And if anyone wants to listen, then they can. But it's been quite interesting because I've had to learn how to build a website and all this. I thought that's quite useful for my CV in itself, just learning to do things like that and build a social media platform. So we'll have to see how that goes. It's going to
So,
be a bit of a learning experience.
talk me through your website build, because I'm on the cusp of deciding whether it's necessary for what I do or not. And so it's quite interesting to pick your brains about, see how you went about doing that.
So you have to buy like a domain for your website. So you've got to get that first. So mine's One Fin Wonder, same as my Instagram. And then I've got like a theme builder, so it's something that just makes it a bit easier. So it's like a WordPress website, but then you can buy like themes which basically help you build it for beginners. And I was actually using the same theme to work on the website for the university where I work. That was just one of the things I was doing alongside as my role. So I already knew how to use that. But it's not that hard. The hard thing I find is like the coding. That's what I find really difficult, and that's something I'm having to try and learn, but it doesn't come naturally to me, that's for sure. But I find it really fun, I really enjoy it, and it's seeing it come together, and it's just been a long process to start it from scratch, and I've not had any help, so it's probably could have been better if I had, to be fair.
Yeah, I was the same. I've got my own website, but through work, like my business that I run. So somebody hosts it for me. Somebody set it up initially, and then went, "Here's the login for WordPress. Fill your boots." And it is relatively simple, isn't it? You can Google most things and work out how to do it, but there is that little bit of coding that if you don't really understand, you can close the page, or you can stop things functioning at all, or they're the wrong colour or upside down and wrong shape and size. But I think if you're on it constantly, as I was in, a good 5-6 years ago, I was doing it weekly. I was putting on a little blog every week onto the page, which helps build up the ratings on Google. So it became easier because I understood what bit I needed to change and stuff like that. But I've not done it for years. So who hosts yours? Have you gone through like someone you know, or have you just bought it from somebody?
I just bought. I've got WordPress, and then I've got it's like my domain is through, I think it's called Bluehost, and then the theme builder I use is called Divi, Divi, which I really like. There's quite a lot. It was quite overwhelming when I first started because there's so many that do that, but Divi was the one that I'd used for work, and I actually really like it. Quite easy. I mean, it makes it look more professional than I would have been able to do without any background in this.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
So what about YouTube? Are you going to put videos on YouTube? Are you going to start a YouTube channel?
I've got a few. Yeah, I've got a few from my travels where I've just done like I just did this for myself. Like I don't like promote my YouTube or anything, but I've just I like doing the little edits. So I'll take my GoPro through a month in Philippines or something, which is what I did earlier this year. And then I'll just edit it to music and my highlights. So that's all I've done so far, but I think I'm going to do a lot more because I'll be basically having my GoPro with me every time I dive for the next few months. So I think I'm going to try and get some good stuff. I feel like when you're diving with down there with that amazing stuff and you're going diving every day, you might as well.
Yeah. I really struggle, believe it or not, to put the camera in front of me and talk to the camera. I'm fine chatting here because it's almost like, well, I'm not looking at me, I'm looking at you. But as soon as I put my iPhone in front of me and I start looking at my face, it's a hard. My ears a mess, or I've got snot hanging off my lip and that.
But yeah, I don't know how much I'll be doing of that, but I think it's more I'm going to be writing blog posts as I go. So I've sent you that smart, like one of my first drafts for one of them, and then I'll be just blogging about doing my dive master and traveling with one leg and anything that people would want to read, I guess. But I've also got like a page where I've got itineraries for the different countries that I've traveled, because I've done a lot of like, especially before I did the diving, I've done a lot of just sort of backpacking through countries, and people will be like, oh, where did you go here? Where did you go there? So I've just put it out into like this is my trip plans. But yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. I feel like if anything, it's just been quite fun for me to learn to do something new, building a website and writing a blog. It's just a new skill, I guess.
I think that's one positive that's come out of this pretty crap year is if you're that way inclined, you're proactive and you're keen, and you've got an end game, you can make it quite successfully. There's a lot of time people have on their hands, and in some respects we've got a bit more money because we're not out spending it on different things that we would be doing, whether it be holidays or just clothes or going out for meals and stuff. So you've got that little bit extra cash to put into something and learn something new, and actually that'll then set a foundation up for the next 20, 30 years perhaps for us both.
Yeah, and it's also I had so much more time on my hands the last 6 months through Corona than I would ever have before. I'm normally so busy. And yeah, I've been working from home, but I've had a lot of time. So I even started learning Spanish. Started a blog, moving to Bali. I feel like I wouldn't have done any of this stuff if it wasn't for lockdown, to be fair. So I feel like I'm trying to take positives out of this year.
Yeah, then one random question then to sort of wrap things up. Go in the Paralympics, win a gold medal for swimming long distance, or living the life you're leaving now?
I wouldn't change anything that's happened now at all. And it's mad to say that, because at the time when I didn't make it, it felt like my whole world had just ended. And then now I look back and think I would not want that to happen any differently than it did, because I just think this is where I was meant to be.
Can you tell that radiator fitter to stop jumping up and down on the ceiling?
Oh, I wasn't sure if you
I thought we better let people who's listening to this know, haven't we, that it's not just me moving my brew mug around.
No.
So wrapping up then, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to or name drop, or how can we find you on social media and that?
So my social media is my new blog's One Fin Wonder, and that's my handle for Instagram and my website name as well. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't prepared anyone for a shout out, you know.
The radiator guy upstairs.
Radiator guy, yeah. You can give a shout out.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on. I do appreciate you giving me an hour or so of your time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on. Nice one.
See you later.
See you later.
Thanks very much to this week's guest for sharing their stories and interesting tales about the underwater world. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I did recording it. For more information on this episode, take a look at the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already, and follow us on Instagram for the latest news. Thanks again to Northern Diver International and those of you who have supported me through Patreon. Take care, and I'll see you on YouTube.